Hey there, boys and girls. Today's lesson is lesson number 4. It's called Making Meaning and Digging Deeper. So yesterday, Miss Abrams talked about filling your book basket and ways you can read and where you can find books and making sure those books are good fit. And so my lesson today is about asking questions while you're reading, thinking about the book before you read, while you're reading, during the read, and after the read. Um, so before we read a book, we might ask questions. What do I know about this genre or this author or this topic or this text? What other questions do I have? What am I wondering about the topic of this text? What do I know or what have I already experienced that's related to this text? And is there anything I need to do to get ready to read this text? So today, I've chosen a literary nonfiction. It's called Moonshot. It's about the flight of Apollo 11. So what makes this book literary nonfiction is that it tells the facts and the events in a story format. So instead of being lots and lots of facts, it's told as if the astronaut, it's told kind of in a sequential way with lots of details that are more literary in nature versus nonfiction. But there's no like fictional elements like a different narrator, like a child that's watching this on TV. There's no other fictional elements like an alien watching the astronauts do their thing. And so this is literary nonfiction. It tells the facts as if they were a story, but they're actually also true. So we can learn some facts from this story. Today in our lesson, we might want to think about a KWL. We've all seen this before. Kind of before we read, we want to think about what we know about the topic. And then the W is maybe what I want to know about the topic, so questions that I have. And then the L is what I learned. And we're going to, the activity part of our lesson is going to focus on the what I learned. For this lesson, you may want to go get a pencil and some paper, or if you have some sticky notes and a pen, you can go, you can pause this video and go grab those real quick. Because you might want to write down some things that you're learning as you're watching the video. That will kind of help you with our activity after we read. All right, so I'll give you a second. I'll let you pause. Okay, so hopefully you have your materials, and we're gonna I'm gonna pause this video real quick and put the book on my easel behind me because it's kind of big. All right, here we go. So this is Moonshot, The Flight of the Apollo 11 by Brian Floca. So in order to keep track of what new questions we have or new facts we learn, I'm going to just jot down some thoughts on the sticky notes and place them on the pages of the text as we read. I'll point out some things I notice, and while I'm reading, you might want to write down on your paper some things that you notice about this book. So we have our title pages, and it has lots of facts. It's got a diagram. So this makes it very nonfiction. Our diagram, we've got like all the parts of the ship, different things about gravity and landing. All right, high above, there's the moon, cold and quiet, no air, no life, but glowing in the sky. So when you start out a book, this makes it very literary where, that's definitely not fact-based, but it's kind of setting a scene. It's got some emotional and some visualization language in there, cold and quiet, glowing. Here below, there are men and women plotting new paths and drawing new plans. They are sewing suits, assembling ships, in writing codes for computers. Nuts and bolts, needles and thread, and numbers, numbers, numbers. Thousands of people for millions of parts. So one thing I noticed when I read through this image right here, there was a movie that was based on a book recently called Hidden Figures. And so I thought that was interesting. It reminded me that there was some ladies that were very active in writing the code for the spaceships. So that was kind of a little connection. We always, as we're reading, we always want to make connections to those experiences we have. And now here below, there are 3 men who clothe themselves in new suits, who are ready to ride in those new ships. They click, lock hands in heavy gloves, and click, lock heads in large round helmets. It is summer here in Florida, hot and near the sea, but now these men are dressed for colder, stranger places. They walk with stiff and awkward steps in suits not made for Earth. They have studied and practiced and trained and said goodbye to family and friends. If all goes well, they will be gone for 1 week, gone where no one has gone before. So that was one thing I didn't know, that it took a week. Their 2 small spaceships are Columbia and Eagle. They are locked to the top of the rocket that will lift them into space. A monster of a machine. It stands 30 stories. It weighs 6 million pounds. A tower of fuel and fire and valves and pipes and engines, too big to believe, but built to fly. The mighty, massive Saturn V. The astronauts squeeze into Columbia's sideways seats, lying on their backs, facing toward the sky. Neil Armstrong on the left, Michael Collins on the right, Buzz Aldrin in the middle. Click, and they fasten straps. Clunk, and the hatch is sealed. There they wait, T-minus 2 hours, with the Saturn humming beneath them. All right, so that's something I didn't really know, that there were like 3 parts to the ship. Maybe I won't do that there since I've got a Sharpie. So I'm going to put that kind of on my notes, that the big ship is Saturn V. That's the part with the rockets. But then there were 2 smaller ships. So we had the Columbia and the Eagle. So if you want to pause the video and write down something else, you can totally do that. So as I'm reading, if you need to pause the video and stop and write something down that you learned, feel free to go ahead. I'm going to model the strategy while I'm reading, but since we're not live, that's a little positive right there. Is you can, anytime I'm talking, you can kind of stop my talking and write a note, or stop my talking and go get a snack or go to the bathroom, as long as you come back. All right, let's keep reading. Pause me when you need to. This one is a long book. Near the rocket in launch control and far away in Houston in mission control, there are numbers, screens, and charts, ways of watching and checking every system and part of Apollo 11. The fuel, the valves, the pipes, the engines, the beats of the astronauts' hearts. That's pretty cool. They were not only monitoring all the technology, but monitoring the human element as well. The hours turn into minutes, and now the countdown quickens. Everyone watching is asked the question, go, no go. And everyone watching answers back, go, go, go. The Apollo 11 is go for launch. 10, 9, 8, 7. Engine sequence started. Flames push hard against the pad, every second pushing harder. 6, 5, 4. But still the rocket does not rise. Mighty arms hold it steady. Hold it till the countdowns finish. 3, 2, 1, 0. Lift off! The rocket is released. It rises. Foot by foot, it rises. Pound by pound. It climbs in the summer sky. It rides a flapping, crackling flame, and it shakes the air and shakes the earth and makes a mighty roar. I'm going to stop and jot right here. Hopefully you're stopping and jotting too. This makes me think of my experience this summer, and you may have had a similar experience. Did anybody watch the SpaceX ship lift off this summer? And just recently it came, the pod came back to Earth and they did the ocean rescue. So watching SpaceX this summer, that's kind of a connection that I have with this, even though I didn't see this Apollo 11 one. I did watch that SpaceX one this summer, and it was kind of the same thing where so many little parts and so many things had to happen before they had liftoff. Armstrong, Collins, Aldrin ride the fire and thunder, pressed in their seats, their bodies as heavy as clay. The rocket below them sheds parts as it soars. Bolts explode. Engines ignite. First stage, second stage, escape tower, gone. The rocket flies lighter. The rocket flies faster. In 12 minutes' time, it's 100 miles high. I remember that from the launch this summer. They showed how fast it was going and how high it was going in a little screen to the bottom. That was really cool to see how fast and far it could go. Then after an orbit around the Earth to talk with Mission Control to check their course, and the rocket and the ships, and the rocket's last stage fires again, pushing the astronauts on. And when the Earth has rolled beneath and rolled behind and let the astronauts go, the Saturn's last stage opens wide and releases Columbia, the small silver ship that sat on top of the rocket. And here, hidden till now, is Eagle 2, a stranger ship, more bug than bird, a black and gold enfolded spider. Michael Collins, Columbia's pilot, turns her back around and points her toward the Eagle. And locks the ships together. Then Armstrong, Collins, Aldrin lead the last of the Saturn and travel on in their two small ships joined together, flown as one. They go rushing into darkness, flying toward the moon, far away, cold and quiet, no air, no life, but glowing in the sky. On board Columbia and Eagle, Armstrong, Collins, Aldrin unlock gloves, unlock helmets, unlock the straps that hold them down, and they float inside their small ships, their home for a week. There is no up or down. An astronaut can spin in air and turn a floor into a wall and a ceiling into a floor. On those ceilings and walls and floors, there are straps and screens and gauges, buttons, handles, hoses, and switches, switches, switches. There are food and clothes packed into corners, and flight plans, flashlights, pens, and cameras, and they float too. They drift from hands and pockets. That's why there's Velcro everywhere, for holding things so they stay put. So that kind of made me think of a question. Was Velcro invented before this, or was Velcro invented like I didn't know that Velcro as an invention, like was it before or was it after, or was Velcro invented, well, I guess not after, but was it invented specifically for space? Interesting. Kind of made me want to do some research on Velcro. Here, where everything floats, it takes some skill to eat a meal. That ham salad sandwich? Watch out for crumbs. Soup? It comes in a bag, dry as dust. Fix the bag to the water gun. Fill it, mix it, stir it up. Cream of chicken? Not too bad. Better than the peanut cubes. Here, where everything floats, it takes some skill to go to sleep. There are no beds or pillows, no night or day. There is always, though, the hum of circuits, the whir of machines, the thought of where you are, and the thought of where you're going. And one more thing, here where everything floats, everything, it takes some skill to use the toilet. It takes pipes and hoses and bags. And there's no fresh air outside the window. After a week, this small home will not smell so good. This is not why anyone wants to be an astronaut. The thing about on this page that I felt like stopping and jotting was all the people who had to think of all of these things ahead of time. So like getting ready for this mission, and all the scientists who had to anticipate, what do we feed them? Where do they go to the bathroom? How will they sleep? And it also made me think of, what problems did the scientists not think of? So what were some things that the astronauts maybe had to solve in space, like on the fly? But still ahead, there is the moon, cold and quiet, no air, no life, but glowing in the sky, glowing and growing. It takes them in, it pulls them close. At the moon, Collins stays in Columbia, high above, a single circling soul. Armstrong and Aldrin leave in the Eagle and take it lower and lower. They have just enough time and just enough fuel. They have a plan and a place to land, a chosen safe site among the craters. Now, friends and strangers in the distance down below stay up late, get up early, and stop as one to watch and wait. There are only maps and models to see. There's no camera that can show the landing far away. But what strange sounds there are to hear. Whistles, beep, and static. Weird new words and quick, clipped news of altitudes and speeds, leaping across the dark between mission control and the men who are taking the Eagle to land on the moon, who are going where no one has been. This is the part I have a connection to, like seeing news clips of people watching and listening to those sounds. On board Eagle, Aldrin calls out information while Armstrong steers the ship. They fly lower and lower, looking for their landing site. But now Eagle, they see, has flown too far. They are miles from where they mean to be. And below their small and spindly ship, they see no level place, only broken stone and rocks, only shadows and deep craters on the great and glowing moon. And inside Eagle's, alarms light up, warnings that come in numbers and codes. Not even the astronauts know. But go, go, says Mission Control. Eagle, Houston, you're go for landing. Far from home and far from help, still steady, steady the astronauts fly as time and fuel is running out. So, man, this would have been a much different story if they had not landed. This could have easily have been a disaster in space history instead of a success. Like, just so many pieces and parts depending on each other. It's pretty amazing that they succeeded. Then there, clean and flat, not too far, 60 seconds left. Armstrong fires the rockets. Eagle slows and lower goes until a spray of dust, a bloom of moon flowers up and around her. Slow and slower, low and lower, landing. And far away where friends and strangers lean to listen, three friends where there comes a distant voice, Armstrong calling from the moon, calm as a man who has just parked a car. Houston, he says, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Armstrong is calm, but on Earth they cheer. Then Armstrong and Aldrin climb down from the Eagle in heavy gloves, in large round helmets, in suits not made for Earth. In suits made for the moon, here below and all around them, cold and quiet, no air, but life. There is life on the strange and silent, magnificent moon. Yeah, human life. Armstrong and Aldrin walk its rough, wide places. They step, they hop, as light as boys. They leap in the sky above their heads. The sun is strong and shining. This is daytime here on the moon. Doesn't look like day back at home. Without any air to scatter the light and make the sky turn blue. The view from here is straight into space, and the sky is bottomless black. Bottomless black without even stars to see, for the light is so bright, shining down from the sun and bouncing on the moon, the stars are outshone, and all of them stay hidden. So that's something I definitely didn't know, that the sky on the moon would be just black, no stars, no blue. Jot that down. So when there's a lot of light, it will outshine the stars. But in that black and starless sky, high alone, there is the earth, rushing oceans, racing clouds, swaying fields and forests. Finally, friends and strangers, everyone you've ever known, everyone you might, the good and lonely earth glowing in the sky. I love how it's so tiny. You think about these ships being so big, but then the moon is so much bigger. Now it is midnight at Houston at Mission Control, and that's how it feels to the astronauts too. And what time is it here on the moon? That's a harder question. Armstrong and Aldrin climb back into the Eagle. It's time to sleep, or at least to try, but it's cold here in Eagle. It's crowded and loud. And now Eagle's air is full of dust, full of the dust of the moon. It was carried in on suits and boots. Now it gets in the astronauts' noses. It smells like damp ashes, like a fire put out. Astronauts keep their helmets on to keep from breathing in dust. Armstrong climbs up on the engine, and Aldrin curls up on the floor. The Eagle was not built for comfort. It is not a good night's sleep. It is barely even rest. Still, the hours go by, and then, rested or not, it is time to go. Eagle's landing stage becomes a launch pad, and 3, 2, 1, Armstrong and Aldrin fly to the top of the Eagle, up, up, up from the moon, their second liftoff of the trip. High above the moon, Columbia is waiting. Columbia and Eagle, two small ships, and Eagle smaller than she was before. They dance, they spin, closer and closer, until Collins can dock and lock them together. Two small ships, flown as one again. Then hatches open and, hello, the astronauts together again too. Successful and happy, Armstrong, Collins, and Aldrin. They leave the last of the Eagle behind them and fly together from the moon, which rolls beneath, which rolls behind, letting them loose and letting them go. They carry pictures, stones, and stories, and a view of home seen from far away. They fly together 2.5 more days in space. High above the earth again, they skim the top of the sky. They slip from emptiness into air. They are flying, more like falling, during diving down to the world below. Flying, falling fast, 400 miles every minute. Falling fast, but now pushing on air and using air and the slope of their ship to slow it down. Pushing on air, cutting down speed, building up pressure and building up heat, hot and hotter until flame, until fire. Now protected by shields, pressed again in their seats, the astronauts ride as a glow grows and grows around them. They cross the sky like a torch, trailing a blazing tail. I can't see that word. Then drogue chutes, pilot chutes, and main chutes open. So that's a word I didn't know. I don't know what that drogue chute, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. So if I was doing another stop and jot, I might write that word down to look up after the read. But based on context, there must be 3 different kinds of parachutes. The parachute catch the air. The parachutes catch the sky. They slow Columbia's fall. Now slower, now safely, now swinging, Now drifting lower and lower in the last small piece of Apollo 11, Armstrong, Collins, and Aldrin return. Back to family, back to friends, to warmth, to light, to trees and blue water. Back from the moon, they land with a splash. To warmth, to light, to home at last. Wow, we certainly learned a lot of new information about this famous space flight. We thought about what we knew about the topic, and we kept asking ourselves questions. We kept track of our learning by stopping and jotting. So when we read a complex text, when we read something that's maybe factual, or when we read a book that's a little longer, a good strategy is stop and jot. And so I have my sticky notes that I wrote down. After we read, if you want to share one of the sticky notes or one of the little facts that you learned, there's a Padlet attached to this lesson. And so you can go in to that Padlet and share some of the things with the rest of the class that you learned today about the Apollo 11 mission. Or maybe you have a few questions of your own that you things that you're wondering. So I hope you enjoyed this story, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye.